Welcome to Film Study, an all-American podcast. Thank you all for being patient once we're listening to this when this drops, because here we have our part two of the episode 18 review and focusing on Liv and Spencer and their story arc in this episode. Because spoiler alert, they are together. They are together. And so yeah, I have Vonda here, and we're excited to get this conversation started. Don't forget to like, subscribe, listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasting platform. Yeah, and just share it. So yes, let's get into it.
Before we begin, I do want to thank Carmen, my twin, for stepping in for me unexpectedly. She did that last minute. She's amazing for doing that. Even though she lied to you, audience, as to what I was recovering from. It was not Olivia, but it was real life events. But on that, I do want to thank her. This is probably the nicest I'm gonna be to her. It's like, so y'all might as well suck it up. Like, we'll suck it up. And she is too. Embrace it. So I just want to thank her for that. So yeah.
And audience, this is hilarious because we also had some technical difficulties recording this. So this is a re-record. To be honest, I completely fear for Spencer in this re-record because we were pretty nice the last time. And who knows? Will this be better or worse for Spencer Monda? I don't know. But it's funny because we talked to Carmen after we recorded that. So yeah, well, I guess we'll find out.
I will say this, people, audience, I will stay consistent. I'm going to keep that same energy. I'm going to keep that same energy for Spencer.
I don't know if I'll be harsher or like, it's okay. It's okay.
I'm going to keep that same energy. So think on what you may believe I'm thinking of Spencer and just go ahead and go along for the ride. Just go along for the ride.
No, so, yeah. I love Spencer on this end. So
she does. She loves Spencer on this podcast. She does.
So speaking of Spencer,
yes,
Spencer in this episode, the very first time we see him, and he's talking about not the very first time we see him, but like we're seeing him with Coop and Patience, and this is the very first time he's mentioning Liv because the last time we saw him, he was kissing Liv. They were kissing each other on the dance floor at Brixton. And so Patience takes this time to ask Spencer about what went down with Olivia, because apparently Patience and Coop are Spilivia shippers now. Again, I buy Patience. I don't know if I buy Coop as much.
I'm not buying Coop being a Olivia fan at all. I really am not. I think she's feeding off of Patience energy. And I think Patience is for real, about Spencer's happiness and seeing Liv and Spencer together. So for that, and the fact that I love Patience, I'm here for the belief of Patience. Coop, I'm looking at you with a side eye. I really am. But,
and you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, and now that it's had a little bit of time to sit, I'm just like, maybe Coop is like doing what she can to, work on their friendship, because it still was a little bit weird seeing them together because they just, became friends again. And this is the first time we're seeing them sort of be normal, like all season. And so maybe she was just like, you know what, water under the bridge. Yeah, I love Layla, but this is my man. And I'm sure she cares for Olivia as well.
Yeah. Yeah, she probably does. Because that's a relationship I wanted to see blossom, but NK didn't give me that between Coop and Liv. But
she hey, maybe in the future.
Yeah, maybe in the future. We never know. I prefer to live in Patience, but I might end up living too. So yeah. I'm just keeping it real.
I'm saying don't we all. This is correct. Yeah. This is correct. So Patience asked Spencer what went down in Brixton, and Coop's like, yeah, man, tell us what's going on. And Spencer's just like,
we just made out at a party.
That's all.
And he said it all low and whispered.
Low. What are you doing, Spencer?
You better keep it real. My sister put it on you, so you better own that.
Just put it on him.
Put it on him. He needs to understand that. He got to accept it and be boast about it. But he want to keep it as a secret and all quiet at the moment. I want to know why. I really do. I really want to know why. Just tell me why, because it was more than just y'all did more than just made out. She put it on you at that moment at a party. while her brother was watching. She had no shame. Do not play with her. You better own that. You better own it. I told you this energy is a whole nother level today.
See, you were like, I'm gonna keep the same energy. No, audience, this is more. This is more. I fear for Spencer. I do.
Carmen said, "Won't he do it?" Yes, he will. Carmen, here this. I'm going to stir Spencer up. Here we go. So yeah.
So he said we just made out a party. That's all. And then he said, she's in recovery. We agreed that we got caught up in the moment, and that relationships are discouraged this early. And it's funny because it's like, Spencer, that's the first time we've heard you talk about her recovery since 9.
And where did you get this information from? And who did you speak to about that? Where did you gather it from? I want to know. Olivia fans and Spencer fans, do not give me this fictional fairy tale land in which he went somewhere else and got the information off screen. I'm not playing in that sandbox. I'm talking about what is on my screen. Where did you get that information from, sir?
He got it from the last time when he told Layla he would wait for her.
I told Liv, I'm not done with you. So from there, he was like, let me just get this information. I just want to know. I just want to know. Tell me. Where you get it from?
And so he said all that, and Patience was just like, well, did you? And you know what? It's good that I said he said all that, because Patience's next question was, did you say that, or did Liv say that? Because Spencer has not spoken to Liv about this at all. He was going on assumption. It was correct assumption. Her recovery does come first. But he did not have this conversation with her. And so
he chose to have it with Coop and Patience first.
He chose to have it with Coop and Patience. And so that is his conversation with Coop and Patience, and it got interrupted when Preach came. Yeah, so the next time, yeah, go ahead.
No, I said no. He just he kissed Patience and then he walked away. He kissed her and walked away.
Which was a sweet moment. I love their interactions together.
I do.
And the next time we see Spencer,
wait, we don't see Spencer. Spencer pops up.
This man skulks behind Liv.
She
jumps.
She is trying to be cute, and he comes with his bedroom voice. His bedroom voice. This man's voice was smooth, quiet.
As butter.
Yes, like I got you. How you got me? You just scared the crap out of me. It came out.
Not only that, sir. Somebody on Twitter said the necklace was already clasped.
He just wanted to touch her. He just wanted to touch his friend's skin.
She was like, I mean, can you get out of my room?
She was like, the party's downstairs. And she gave him that
downstairs.
Smile. Yeah, he touched her and she gave that smile. She was like, the party's downstairs.
She did not want that man in her room at that moment. I'm sorry.
But he tried to smooth out. He goes, I know, I figure I steal a minute with you, make sure we're good.
We are.
It was like, we are.
I'm reading back over like the transcript of it. She did not want that man in her room. And this is the point that I have to bring up, because something that I said a couple weeks ago, I was just like, people always get upset at Layla for entering when Liv's room. I think I said this in the other episode, but again, Spencer entered Liv's room without knocking as well. So people just be coming into Liv's room, scaring her, use it while she's not there, all that stuff.
People are gonna romanticize this, like this was their moment alone. They needed this moment. They needed to look at each other's eyes. He needed to be there for her. For what? She was just trying to get ready to go downstairs.
And after spending all this time with Jordan all week, with Groomzilla, she's just like, ooh, peace and quiet.
Right. And then so I will give Spencer this, because he was honest in the moment. He was like, full disclosure, says, like, I'm worried because I haven't seen you since Brixton. And so his feelings, whatever he was feeling from the time he spoke in with Patience and Coops, he decided that he was going to go look for her. And we're going to talk about that and other things, and how he went to go find her here when he needed to.
Which was which was good, which was good on
which
his
was
part.
very
And
good.
yeah, she was, even though I do think she didn't necessarily want him in her room at
Right.
first, she was very happy with the little caress, guys. She was very happy with the little caress, the little smooth voice, all of that.
Right. And at that time we find out that like Liv was dealing with Groomzilla, which is Jordan, which is time
Yeah.
consuming, and that she was going to NA meetings.
More NA meetings,
Yeah,
extra
more
NA meetings.
yes.
And that she was
Which
not avoiding Spencer.
right, but Spencer didn't ask about those NA meetings and how they were going since he was all so well known about her recovery. That was an opening, sir, for
Well
you to ask
versed
her
in recovery.
how she's
Which,
doing. But that's
speaking about this, it's so interesting because a thought that I had is, again, if she was going to extra NA meetings, I'm assuming it's due to maybe the stress of the wedding, maybe due to the party at Brixton. And
yeah,
I was very, one of the things that I mentioned in that review was I was very disappointed that no one, in sort of solidarity and in support, like, said, okay, we're not drinking, which was very shocking because in the cabin episode, Spencer was like, we're not drinking, and that was before they found out about her relapse. So
right.
post relapse and in recovery, y'all was just like, yeah, let's go ahead and drink, and not even necessarily so much for Spencer and Simone, but for Jordan.
Her own twin, her day zero was not there in solidarity. Like
Not at
your
all.
sister is going to be going through this for the rest of her life. And y'all just found out that she had a relapse. And you, which we will find out later, been going to these mystery meetings, NA meetings we'll talk about. But for some reason, y'all go to a college campus and they're offering you alcohol out of a trash can, which is a no, people. I have dealt with too many incidents with that. So, but instead of saying, nope, I'm going to stand in solidarity with my sister, I'm not going to do this, you decide I'm just going to chug along with everybody else. It doesn't matter. She got this. Yes, sir. No. That's not how that works. That's not
Yeah.
how that works.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was a little aside on the recovery bit and the extra
But
NA
Liv
meeting.
did say, I'm not avoiding you.
Yes, did say I'm not avoiding it. And again, like, to that point about maybe them not drinking, they obviously don't have to not drink with her, and she is completely, responsible, fully accountable to that, as she should be. And yeah, I think she was just telling it to be open and honest with him about where she's at. Um, yeah, and it was just her telling him what was going on. But regardless, Spencer said, you know, I'm not losing my best friend, which so many people are best friends in this show. Everybody's a best friend.
They say it
Oh,
so loosely, particularly
so
with a couple
loosely.
with a group of people to a toxic relationship that I don't like that Lexi likes. They say best friends a lot on this show. I need NK to really define what best friend means, but that's okay. That is
I'm gonna
okay.
let you have that one because I'm not even gonna acknowledge who it is.
I'm gonna bring this one into this recording, but but yeah, he said I'm not losing my best friend over one night at a frat party, no matter how epic it was. But can I just say when he said that so smooth.
He did.
He was looking at her, making sure she understand what epic meant for him. But y'all are supposed to be best friends, and you just decided you go just pour all this out to your best friend.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Well, and the interesting thing is, I think I got on him a little bit because I was just like, he was not smooth in what was it, 13 when they were baking the cake. I
Right.
personally didn't think it was as smooth as he normally is, but he was pretty smooth in this room scene together with them two.
Yeah, he's getting his footing.
He's
He's
getting
getting
his
his
footing
footing.
back. He's
I
getting his
think
footing back.
that kiss at Brixton gave him a little confidence.
It did. It
Gave
did.
him a little
And
confidence.
more time has passed, so he's just like, all
Yeah.
right, she kissed me. We're good.
Yeah. I told
Uh
you she put it on him. She put
And
it
it's
on him.
interesting that he used the word friend. I love that they're best friends, but
Yeah.
I want to note that Spencer said the word friend because this is going to come back up in our conversation. And Liv mocked him and said, "Well, friend,
Friend.
we should probably go before, Simone's mom and my mom."
start
Basically
doing
kill
trouble.
each other.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, he agreed, and escorted her out the room.
Yes, they were like locked arms, locked hands, stuff like that. Yeah.
And that was a very flirty moment for them, is that they can actually have a moment like they did at Bringston and still try to find their footing, and with a possibility of what their relationship will look like, because he was honest about what he was feeling with her.
Yeah.
And she listened to him. It's like, I'm not
she was
avoiding
honest. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, I was not avoiding you. And I know some people are like, about time she's not avoiding him. Note that she's never avoided that man physically. He can always find her. But I know people make a reference to 3A, but the avoidance was having a conversation, but she never really avoided him outright. So I want that to be clear and understood from my point of view.
No, I agree. I'm with you on that one. And so yeah, so it was a cute moment. It was a cute moment. And it did feel like for the first time they're talking, like they're communicating, and they're both saying how they're feeling towards each other and about their business, as Liv put it in a couple episodes ago. Yeah. So go ahead.
No, because she's like, it's about us. We stay within our business. It's about us.
Yep. We need to stop worrying about other people's and start worrying more about our own. And so in the next scene, Jordan was sitting with Asher and Spencer and Olivia, and he was talking about how why he and Simone had called off the wedding, and that they did what worked for them, like screw the rules, all of that, and all that mattered is that they were in love with each other, and they were gonna figure out a way to work it out. And at that moment, Spencer and Olivia give each other a little look
in front of Asher, like, Asher be damned. This is about us.
That part,
right? And they, as we know, they read each other, know each other, and connect.
Yeah.
And we always make jokes, let it be in our podcast, online, or whatever we do, is that they sometimes look at each other as no one else is around.
Yeah.
And at that moment, no one else was around, not even Jordan or Asher. It was the two of them in that moment.
Yeah. And
looking at each other.
Yeah, and the quiet moments, I think, between the two of them in this episode were something to pay attention to, because again, it's yes, they looked at each other, and yes, they can read each other, and that's important, but thinking about why they looked at each other, and it's because Jordan said, we're in love, we're figuring out what works for us, despite everything, and that is going to come into play later on, because it's just going to come into play later on. But before we get to that later on, it's the next little moment that we saw. The next quiet moment is that Billy and Laura are getting married, and Liv and Spencer are looking at each other again during this wedding. And if you pay attention to the lyrics of the song, it's a song about saying I do, and it's a song about like not necessarily wanting to lose someone. And that's when they look at each other, and that was that wedding was so beautiful.
It was, for us not to hear their vows or anything. It was very beautiful.
It was gorgeous wedding.
Yes, and at that moment, you have once again Olivia being at a wedding that's supposed to be for someone else, and fighting each other. And this time, them finding each other with their eyes, of knowing at this moment they are in love with each other. They have spoken those words, and it's not the guess of whether or not what they're feeling of 7, but that solidarity of they knowing how they're feeling and where should they go from here in this particular moment. So
yeah. It was interesting to see the sort of contrast between Liv and Spencer this time, because Olivia just had the most gigantic smile on her face. I think, in addition to like being in love with Spencer and loving the moment and, finding him, she was just genuinely happy because her parents were back together.
Very much so. And that's a good segue into the next part that we're going to talk about. And it's not Olivia, but it's more so the Baker twins.
Yes, the Baker twins.
one of the things that Lexi and I love is we love the Baker twin moments. And this
Yes.
moment is very important and influential in the last scene. And so you have Liv and Jordan talking about their parents, trusting them alone at home. They must be really in love with each other. Because
I
of
love that
all
the
the
writers
things that,
included that.
yes. And because Liv was like, because they said, because all the things we've done, right? For them to leave us at home by
Just in the
ourselves.
past 2 months,
Yeah,
like,
they've done a lot. They've done a lot between the two of them. They could get some parents some gray hairs.
ugh,
Um,
breaking laws, breaking several laws. Yeah.
yes, they just was doing
One
them.
thing them Baker twins is gonna do is break the law.
They're gonna break a law and go do it with confidence, but they're gonna break the law nonetheless. But Liv talks about their family being together, and Jordan says, but, and she says, no, no, but she says, I'm glad someone in this family got a happy ending. A happy
Which
ending.
was so weird to me.
Right.
Because she was talking about, you know, how good it is. And yeah, the happy ending piece I felt like was just odd because
Mm-hmm.
she was very happy. She was just like, our family is back together. And that's something that we've known, like we as the audience have known that she's wanted, that she's fought for, that, and
At
she
one point, the only one
genuinely,
was fighting
yeah.
for it.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And that was genuinely happy about it. And so I feel like, to me, the scene would have worked better if they had cut out that whole, at least someone in his family has a happy ending. Felt like
Right.
that line was a little forced.
Because she had her happy ending when it discussed about her family. She wanted that. She has been wanting that since the end of season one, and she now has that part of her the happiness that she's been wanting. So yeah, that language should have been changed.
Yeah.
But they decided to put that statement in there to help people recognize that her happy ending also includes Spencer,
Spencer. Yes, yes.
of course. So you have Jordan say, I know someone who could be happy if she got out her own way. So I got a question, Lexi. At
Mm-hmm.
what point did Jordan start paying attention to his sister this part of the
He's so
season,
hot and cold with Liv, honestly.
that he will know what she needs at that moment?
And why is Jordan sorry?
Go ahead. No, come on.
Why is Jordan giving anyone advice? Like, I just anyway.
Thank you. Because the reason why I say that, and I love the Baker twins. I tell you, I will fight for them.
Yeah.
But the thing is that Jordan, you have been a hot mess. You're getting married. You are married. You're getting annulled. You putting yourself through this whole concussion drama. At what point was your sister even on your radar? I'm just trying to figure it out. But that's okay. This is how the
Yeah.
writers want to make this happen. Make you seem as you have been always in her corner, and we
Especially
just have.
talking about like, oh, these dating and Al-Anon, that's these are popular hot topics. Like, I've been to these Al-Anon meetings, and we're like, well, this is the first time we're hearing about it, Jordan.
Right. We never knew you went, sir. You were going to these secret meetings that we had no clue about.
Jordan just
But
lives a
then,
life full of secrets. Yeah, like
right,
secretly
he
working on getting back from the concussion, secretly going to this meeting that not even Liv knows about. What?
he just lives in that way. He lives that way. But Liv was like, I'm in recovery, Jordan. He says, I don't want to end up telling some predictable horror story like other addicts and who got back into the dating game too soon.
Yeah.
And so Jordan, so here's the deal. Jordan may not know Liv as much, but he knows his brother Spencer because he spends every moment with his brother Spencer. I'm gonna keep it really funky in this podcast. So, you generally think that will happen with Spencer. Because Jordan knows Spencer. He may not know the twin that he came out of the womb with, but he knows Spencer. So yeah. I'm sorry, I had to do it. I had to do
Which is
it.
so sorry. It's just so funny. Because obviously
Really?
it's about Liv and Spencer. Obviously
Right.
it's about Liv and Spencer, and encouraging Olivia that she can balance her recovery and be in a relationship as well, which was a good conversation for them to have. And also, it's so funny that you're Vaughn, you're completely correct in that Jordan is hyping up Spencer more than he's hyping up Liv being able to handle being like.
Thank you.
He's just like, yeah, Spencer's not gonna do anything wrong. Not like, hey, you know what? You're strong enough to handle it. Let's bring that line back. You're strong.
He's hyping up Spencer being with you in this journey, not you Liv alone. Like I know you got this, Liv. I know you're going to be successful in this process. But no, the gentleman who's going to be with you is going to help you keep this first.
Audience, all I have to say is we were kinder to Spencer in the last episode. And it got deleted so clearly, you know. The Lord was just like, nah, come for his neck.
For his neck and George's too. Just do them both at the same time. Because Jordan was like, as it should. It says, but with the right person you really know who knows you and wants the best for you.
Your recovery will come first, yeah.
Yeah. And that it should never be about either or.
Yeah.
She should go ahead and make that decision about who she wants to be with. If it's there, just go ahead and and be happy. Just go ahead and be happy.
Yeah. And so this prompts her to go and talk to Spencer. And we're gonna take a couple breaks at this. We're gonna take a couple pauses at this scene in particular, because the first thing she says when she walks in sort of gets immediately. And again, this was in the last 2 minutes of the show. She's talking to Jordan, and then she goes to see Spencer. And she gets right to the point, puts her purse down, and all of that. It's just like, I need to ask you something. Why did you fall back after Bringston? And forget about what we said about being caught up in the moment. I want the truth. Which is interesting, because something that I said before is I was just like, you know what? I don't think Olivia is waiting. I was just like, Olivia is not waiting, to get Layla's approval. Right. Which is what we've seen over the past couple of episodes, just in her reactions. I was just like, I think she's waiting to see where Spencer is at.
Because she still was unclear. I don't care what no one says. She was still unclear at the end of 9, because she knew that he was not going to be that person in her corner as she went home to her family. She knew that. She knew she was the cause of that. She understood that. But because we did not see on our television screen this gentleman checking in on her, she still was unsure.
And that is the point. So it wasn't only just the ending of 9. It was everything up until that point. And this was intentional by the writers, because we get, the first time we're hearing Spencer talk about Liv's recovery is when he's talking to Patience and Coop. The first time we get people saying, oh, have you talked to Liv about this? Or is this coming from Liv, or is this coming from you? And that's Patience asking that question. Yeah, so he has not talked to Liv about this. This has been purposeful, where it's just been like,
yeah, he's been.
Spencer has been quietly, maybe supportive of Liv. Obviously, because that's just the kind of guy he is. Nobody's saying he hasn't been sort of quietly supporting. Nobody's saying. I'm not even necessarily saying that after 9 she didn't know that he was in her corner, but I do think that she was waiting.
Very much so. She's waiting to see what was his next steps. And let me tell you all right now, you're going to take away episode 13. That was not, not at all.
That was
an alternate world.
It truly was an alternate.
It was an alternate world. That was all about Grace. That was nothing about them. Because y'all do not want me to go in on how this gentleman literally answered the phone.
And even including that, right? Including that, the intimate moments that they've had really have been started by her largely. We think about the kisses that they've had since then. Olivia initiated every single one of them. Even if we're not counting we're talking about post 9 here. Post 9. And we're thinking about the fact that when she talked to Layla was just like, oh, so you and Spencer together. And Liv was just like, nope, we're friends. Still just friends.
We're still just friends.
Later on in that episode, we get what was it, Liv telling Spencer like we have to worry about our own business, and
Yes.
so she's been dropping these hints, and he really has been like, yes, she called them friends in when they were at Bringston, but remember, Spencer wasn't around for any of that to see, but amongst each other,
Yeah.
really, Liv has been open. Liv has been, openly being like flirty with him. Liv has openly sort of been like, I'm gonna allow my facial expressions to be happy. I'm happy that he's near me. I'm happy when people bring him up. And Spencer, it's crazy that the first time we get somebody teasing Spencer about Olivia was this episode post Jordan's initial question in 10.
Very much so.
So the
Very much so.
one who has been more quiet about things.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm?
Very interesting. And some people talk about Liv's confidence when she came into that space because she put her purse down. Was like, I need to ask you something. No, Liv, y'all have seen this confident Liv before.
Hot
Y'all
tub
seen that
Liv.
hot tub Liv, very confident. She was the one who decided, yes, we're going to do this. She was the one who took off her clothes first. She was the one who got into that tub first. Y'all have seen this Liv before, but y'all kind of forgot that Liv with all the other stuff that's been put in the way. But
Yeah.
she's been here before, very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah, and it's important to think, and I think we share similar thoughts on this, is that it's not even like Liv wasn't confident in the beginning. I think it's that she would tell people, how she feels, and because of either, them not necessarily listening or something getting in the way or something interrupting, she just got used to being like, it's not happening for me. And so that was sort of a learned behavior after trial and error and trial and failure.
Yeah.
Because even thinking back to their original, the original not date at Asher Adams' party after being prompted by Layla, right? She went in the house and she basically was just like, hey, yeah, I've been watching Girls Trip all day. And perhaps I should not do that anymore. And perhaps, we should go to this party together. Like yeah. All I'm saying is we've seen Liv be confident around Spencer before,
Yes.
and it was
Yes.
nice to see that again.
Very much so. We then, as Liv asked for the truth, Spencer says, because your recovery come first is the reason why he fell back. And he's like, I will not compromise that for nothing.
I was like, that's news to me, Spencer.
News to me too, sir. Very much so, because she wouldn't know that because you never said that to her until that moment.
And maybe I should say this is not news to me, but news to her. Because why would she need to ask it if she knew?
If she knew that already, and for her to come to you like, tell me the truth, not this whole
why did you pull back? So that leads me to believe that he's the one who was just like, hey, we got caught up in the moment. And she was just like, yeah.
He
just
was
like
the
when
one
he said, you're my best friend. And she was like,
okay,
friend.
We go roll what you say, but right now she's like, I'm in the driver's seat because now you're a little confused, and I need to know.
That is a great way. Yes, that is what happened. Spencer had been in the driving seat post 9, and Liv was just like, well, that's not working.
This is so not working for us at this moment.
I even tried to take the driver's seat back at Bringston, and then somehow we still ended up back at you being like, friend.
And you whispering about our moment that I put on you like it's a secret. No, sir, this is not how we doing this. We're not doing this. You and I had said too, it would have been great if the writers had said and let him be known. I was confused. I didn't know how to assist you.
That I didn't know how to talk about this topic with you. I genuinely think his behavior all would have been forgiven if he had just said, you know what, honestly, Liv, I don't even know how to talk about this with you. I don't know how could I be there for you. I've just haven't known how to talk about this with you, and that would have made sense. And I think that's where the writers were going, but they weren't explicit about it. Like they didn't put that in the dialogue. Because they were just like, oh, the audience will get it. But I'm like, no, sometimes the audience needs to be spoon-fed.
Yeah. And so while she is all is forgiven, me on the other hand, yeah, bruh, nah, that's not, nah. Got some more things to do than that, sir. Nah. What you know. I do, though, appreciate his honesty.
Yeah.
Because she asked him to be truthful. And then Liv put the line out there for him. And I was glad he took the bait, because if he didn't and he went another direction, it would have been something interesting. It would have been something interesting. She said, what if I told you I can be with you and still put my recovery first? That took him by surprise. Because he stuttered across his words.
It did.
That took him by surprise, because he did not expect that to come out of her mouth.
He did not.
He did not. And I appreciate my sis for keeping him on his toes, because he did not expect that. This is where she was like, I'm taking over. I'm completely taking over at this moment.
Yeah. And to be fair, again, two things can be true at once, right? So though I do think that she was waiting on him, I do think there was also a large part of her that again needed to hear that reassurance. Like, it's like she was waiting for that reassurance that her recovery would come first, and that was still something that she was worried about. And I'm glad that he sort of confirmed that for her, that that her recovery came first, because that was important to her, and that was something that she was worried about.
Yeah, because once he got over the shock and he was able to speak coherently, he says, I say it's about damn time we got a shot at happiness. And she said, yeah. And she went over
to go kiss him.
And she kissed her man. And she kissed her man, and he picks her up. And everybody has been going crazy
about that pickup. Yes.
About that pickup. And I said, was that pickup was not just them of joy, but actually Liv taking that weight off of Liv. Can we be in a relationship while I'm in recovery? Can we do this together? Because she knew she was ready for it, but was he ready to be in this with her? No. And I want to hear people hear me now. This man is not going to need to save her during this process, because she's never needed him to save her. Now, I know y'all gonna be like, but he saved her from a bullet. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about life. Liv has been his rock. So she's not going to need him to save. She just needed to know that she had a partner, someone to support her in this. And this also to be known, and I'm telling this to anybody who's listening, Liv can be a recovering addict and be in her sobriety and still have love and be loved. Yeah. She doesn't have to wait for years for that. She's too beautiful for that. She don't have to wait for nobody to tell her that she loves her. We ain't got time for this. She fears. This is not what she's here for. She needs to know if she can have a rider on her side as she rides for others. And right now, this young man, because I'm going to say young man in a nice way, decide he wants to go ahead and take up this mantle. Mr. Spencer James, I'm going to tell you this now. You gotta hear me.
I'm telling you.
You hear me now.
This is a re-recording it. I feared for Spencer James, and that fear turned out to be correct.
You got one time, sir. One time. Put one hair out of place. One time. I will drag you for dear life. One time. Because right now, my sister's like, we gonna do this? You said yes.
Not Londa threatening Spencer.
I will threaten him on this. You got one time. I threaten him on Twitter and everything else. I might as well do it in the podcast. Boom. I am here for it. Do not do it. Do not, sir. I love the fact that my fictional baby sister is happy. I'm happy that she's happy. Congratulations to all the Olivia fans.
I'm one of them. Congratulations to me.
Yes. Congratulations to Lexi and everyone else. Note that I said congratulations to Lexi and everyone else. Check my comments. Y'all know how I feel. So on that note,
you have been retweeting them edits, Wanda.
Yes, but I retweet the edits for a couple of reasons. Because Liv is either the star or the co-star, and I believe in the creators. Now, mind you, if I had some Chris and Liv edits, I'll put them up too. I'm just keeping it real.
So now you bringing up Chris when Olivia is officially official.
I'm just saying, I am here for Liv.
I'm dead.
I'm dead. Right now is attached to that channel.
And on that note, both Liv and Spencer were very, very happy, and it was good to see them happy after all of the craziness that has gone down between them two, out of all of the foolishness that they both have done.
Yes.
And out of all of the miscommunication, again, that was on both their parts.
Right.
It was so good to see them being honest with each other, to each other. Mm-hmm. And going for it and getting, like he said, getting their shot at happiness. Thanks for listening to Film Study, an all-American podcast. We had a really good time with this conversation again. And stay tuned for the next episode where we talk predictions for the rest of this season, which is only one episode because we about to be at the finale. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for listening.